Hi guys, so this is the very first episode of The Ordinary Man, Step by Step. So what it basically is, my name's Tom, Tommy, Thomas, Courtney. Um, what I'll be doing is literally just explaining a step-by-step process of what I'm doing with my business that isn't a business yet. This is really all going to be about getting an idea that I had, getting it out of my brain onto paper and then into the market. So I'm not going to be giving out any wisdom or advice on how to live an entrepreneurial life or any of that bullshit. It's literally going to be a documentation of what I'm doing on a daily basis. So the reason why I'm doing this, I suppose, would be, and the reason I suppose for the name, The Ordinary Man, is that's exactly what I am, very ordinary. But I want to prove, I suppose, to the world that it's not overly complicated to get a business up and running. As long as you're passionate about it, as long as you're willing to work extremely hard, as long as you've got good people around you who can help, support you, and obviously good people in the business as well, then anything's possible. So, as I said, this is really going to be just a documentation of what I do on a daily basis, who I'm talking to, the approaches that I'm running with, the strategies that I'm trying to implement. So we're a good bit into it now at this stage anyway. I started this idea came to me back in October of 2015. It's for a company called Property Basecamp. It looked an awful lot different back then than it does now. What we were looking to do was to try and sort of build a hybrid approach to buying and selling properties online via an app. So really looking at, I suppose, cutting out the middleman and giving people the ability to buy and sell properties online. Now, we looked at that for a couple of months, and I do think that will come to the market, but there's a timing issue here, and I think one of the major issues with an application like that is the main value proposition behind it is to basically save. So if you're going to sell a house, you want to save on the commission that you're going to pay an agent. But we're based here in Dublin, Ireland, and at the minute there's such a shortage of property. So what we're finding is the properties are being sold for 50, 60, 70, 80 grand above asking price because the demand is so high. So people don't really give a shit if they're paying an agent 5 or 6 or 7 grand to sell their house, to take all the hassle away. So although I do think that product will be successful in time, just at the minute I don't think it's going to be as successful as it will be in the future. So really we pivoted then to the rental market and had a look to see what's going on in the rental market. So I come from a technology background, I suppose you would say. I'm a business analyst by trade, business analyst / product owner. So I've been working in technology companies. I'd worked in Australia for a number of years, moved back to Ireland in 2015, worked within the travel industry for a company that designed and implemented digital applications for travel management companies. What we found is in the Dublin market, there's a real shortage of indigenous skills here. So what we're doing is we're having to bring in a lot of employees from abroad. When we do that, one of the main issues that these guys were finding was, they were finding it hard to get accommodation. Now again, going back to the property market here in Dublin, it's very, very competitive at the minute. If you go to a viewing, there's literally 50, 60, 70 people at a viewing. It's very competitive, and it's just very, very difficult to get accommodation. So what's happening there is the companies that are employing these guys and relocating these guys are spending an awful lot of money in short-term accommodation, hotels and Airbnbs, until their employee actually finds accommodation. So not only that, it's very, very stressful for these guys whenever they do relocate here, because they don't know the area. They were never told how competitive the rental market is here. And also there's a productivity issue here as well, because we found that a lot of employees were having to leave during work hours to go to viewings, And obviously they're not focusing then on getting up to speed in their new role, their new surroundings, their team. So really what Property Base Camp is all about is it's providing these relocating employees with the ability to secure long-term rental accommodation without all the hassle of having to compete with the world, basically. So this application itself is going to be an enterprise only application, which basically means it's only going to be accessible by our clients. So obviously I can't speak an awful lot about who our client base are, but again we've the companies that we're targeting are sort of the high profile companies that are based here in Dublin in the tech and finance industry. So at the minute as we stand, we've got one major accounting firm on board, so that's a real win for us. So really I suppose how we're doing that is we went and we've partnered up with a number of the leading property agents here in Dublin. So we're talking about the likes of Sherry Fitzgerald and Hook and McDonald, D&G, Gillespie Lowe, MD Properties, and the Cosgrave Group. So they have a huge amount of properties on their portfolio. So altogether we have access to 5,500 properties. Obviously that's not 5,500 available at any one time. That's just as a portfolio in total. So really what they do is they advertise their property exclusively to our users, and our users then get first pick on any property. So the main sort of value proposition that we're looking at is they're reducing the amount of time it takes these employees to get accommodation. So really it's working well. As I said, it's really early yet. We have only gone live with the one client and with a couple of employees, but the first employee that we had sort of was the best, I suppose, testimonial we could have got. He had been relocated here to Ireland in a finance role, brought his wife and baby over as well with him. Before they came on board before they started using Property Base Camp, they were looking for a rental property for 3.5 weeks. The company was only going to put them up in temporary accommodation for 4 weeks. So really they had to find something by the coming weekend. So we got him set up in the app on Tuesday night, and by Saturday morning he had the deposit down on his brand new rental home. So that really couldn't have worked any better for us. So more of the same is needed. We're in discussions with a large amount of companies. I suppose we do offer a free trial because we're thinking very long term here. We want to get these big clients on board, as we think that'll open up a lot of opportunities for us working with these leading brands. So we're getting there. We're in discussions with a lot of them. Probably throughout this podcast I may not be able to speak too much about naming the companies that we're working with, because a lot of the bigger companies don't like to market the suppliers that they're working with, but hopefully there will be some that we can mention. So that's generally an overview of where we are up until now. So as I said, there's not going to be any words of wisdom here from me. It's really going to be just a documenting of the process that I'm going through. So again, I myself am the only full-time person at the minute. I have 2 other active shareholders in the company as well who are working part-time. One as a lead developer and one as a lead designer. So and I've got my sister who's a marketing graduate doing the marketing work for free. So you couldn't beat that. So that's the team that we're dealing with at the minute. Again, we're very early doors, so we're just still finding our feet. But again, step by step, as we're calling this podcast, it's if I look back to I suppose 6 months ago, and if you told me this is how far we'd be, I would have snapped your arm off. So again, we're making good progress. So really, moving forward, it'll be just literally explaining what I'm doing on a daily basis, if it's going for meetings or trying to organise. One of the biggest, I suppose, difficult things I've had at the minute is we know for a fact that there's a need for this product. It's just a matter of getting into the room with the decision makers, and that obviously because of the companies we're targeting, the major tech and finance companies, they're extremely busy. So we're really trying to target the HR director, as they are generally the decision makers. So we're really just trying to grind them down and get them into a room. So as time goes on, I'll be keeping you updated on how we're doing it, the tools that I'm using to do it as well, and really that's pretty much it. We're going to be just going step by step, day by day, and you'll be across the progress that we're making. So some really exciting things coming up this week. I suppose we're waiting on a decision from one of the biggest technology companies on the planet who we're in discussions with at the minute about using the application. So that would be a serious win for us. Again, we're offering a 2-month trial for these guys to get them up and running to prove our worth. Other than that, there'll just be a couple of other meetings. I've decided to start a prop tech meetup event. That's the first one. I think is going to be happening on the 25th of May. So I'll be meeting a couple of people from prop tech, this emerging prop tech industry here in Dublin, who also want to get involved. So that's going to be really cool. So that will be happening in a couple of weeks. So we'll be doing a bit of planning for that. Other than that, it won't be anything extremely exciting. It just will be literally the daily grind. We'll be talking about how we're marketing the product at the minute on a shoestring budget, how we're going to try and get into the room with these decision makers, and also discussing our partnerships that we have in place with the property agencies here in Dublin. So that's really it. So looking forward to doing this. Again, this isn't sort of I'm not overly comfortable in this sort of scenario, but I think podcasts are really going to explode in the near future as everybody moves to a model where they want to learn and be engrossed by learning different skills, and really the entrepreneurial market is exploding. It's I suppose really cool to try to be an entrepreneur. As we go through the podcast, I'll explain my hatred of the word entrepreneur, because I think half the people use it complete bullshit to stick on the Instagram profile or Twitter profile that they're an entrepreneur, and yet they're not making any fucking money. So to me, an entrepreneur is somebody who's built a business and is actually making money, not somebody who claims to be an entrepreneur just because they've got a fucking Facebook page for a company. So if you go onto my LinkedIn profile, Tom Courtney, you'll see at the minute I've actually said director / not an entrepreneur, because we're not making any money yet. So that's really what this is going to be about, and looking forward to getting all your feedback. Any feedback's welcome, and that's it. Chat soon.